Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Q2 2024 Apteco software release webinar. And for the first time, we are doing this on Teams. So I hope you've made it in okay. If you have any questions about the platform, please do ask. And if I just get the slides rolling, I'm James Alty, I'm Managing Director of Apteco. I'm joined online by Mel, our Group Marketing Manager. And we're going to host the session for the next hour. So good afternoon in the UK, good afternoon in Europe, good evening if you're joining us from Australia. Thank you for dedicating an hour of your time to what we're going to show you. As usual, we're going to do a software update, a little bit about future plans, what's coming soon. But we do have a slightly different structure because this is the first time we are on Microsoft Teams. And so we don't have polls built into the webinar at the moment. We've looked at some poll apps, but they weren't well reviewed, so we're still choosing. If you would like to ask questions or provide feedback, the Q&A panel in the Teams webinar is available to you, so you can ask questions. And in place of the polls, if I can, I'll answer those questions during the webinar. If that's not appropriate, we'll come back to you afterwards to answer your questions. So topics for today, lots of developments in Orbit. I'll talk you through those, looking, for example, at how we've improved Connect, the work we've done to improve the Salesforce data model, so you can build an Apteco system directly from Salesforce, better editing on the tiles. I'll show you some of that. I think I mentioned it last time. We're going to look at target tiles. That's a new capability, a really nice way to show your KPIs and measures in your marketing data. We'll look at some campaign structures that we've called campaign sections. Some of you might have seen those at our global launch event 6 weeks ago, but I'm going to show that as well. And we've got a new takeover edit capability that allows you to take over an item that was previously locked by somebody else editing it. For the first time for a while, I'm going to demo fast stats. We saw in our telemetry the other day in an internal meeting, we discussed the fact that we still have 6 times as many fast stats sessions as we do Orbit sessions. Clearly, in due course, we expect that to swap over, but it's an interesting metric. And we do develop new items in fast stats every release, and I'll show you some nice capabilities for those. In fact, I've realized I meant to update that list, and that's the list from Q1. So I'm going to show you some different things, not those things. I forgot to update that list. In PeopleStage, we have a new browser embedded to allow you to preview your meta ads better. Better meta ads should be a marketing challenge for all of us. It's like our Be More Sassy campaign to help our business convert to working as a SaaS business. And then there's a few developments in Designer that I will talk about as well. So remember, at all times, you can see what's new on the Apteco horizon by looking at the What's New page on our website. Now, normally, actually, in GoToWebinar, we upload these slides as handout. What we'll do is we'll send you them afterwards because they do include links like that blue See What's New button, and you can use that and share it with your colleagues. It's an easy way to get to those resources on our website. We'll send it out as PDF. We're also always working on the Help Hub. We have 2 full-time technical authors, Chris and Reese, ably supported by our training manager, Di, who produce great content for you in the Help Hub, and it's just always ongoing. So let me remind you that you can always go to help.apteco.com and you'll see details of latest releases, latest features, and detail on how to operate the software. Remember that back in November last year at the Apteco Live conference, we announced Apteco Email. That's now built into the platform. If you're using one of our campaign bundles, then you can access Apteco Email and reduce the number of accounts and the number of user interfaces that you need to deal with. You can have it all inside your Apteco marketing platform and use Orbit to create your templates, do your personalization, do your testing, etc. And in fact, we are promoting a special offer at the moment. If you don't have one of our campaign bundles, we have some special offers on upgrading your analysis bundle to include campaign bundle. So talk to your Apteco partner, or if you're one of our partners and you haven't heard of the offer, talk to our business development team. They'll be glad to help. So let's have a look at Orbit. First of all, we've done updates every 2 weeks, and we have a pretty regular pace now. We're managing to get the sprints done reliably. We've got a great testing team as well as the 3 great product teams, and working with the technical authors, working with the marketing team, we're trying to get the release notes out as promptly as we can when an update is done every 2 weeks. So we now have the ability to automatically add the campaign tables to your Orbit Connect design. So if you're using Orbit Connect to load your data, instead of using the designer capability, then you now have the ability to automatically add campaign tables. We've also updated the Orbit Connect system, so it now uses the same diagram component we developed for campaigning to show you table relationships. So we're using the same workflow lines and objects connection as we have in campaign. It just brings consistency, and that lovely new compact design that we created for campaigning obviously now has a benefit for people administrating tables and relationships rather than email sends and interaction splits, for example. So we've now got that ability. It's just a tick box. You just tick the box. So I want my campaign tables loaded, and it's part of making Apteco more comprehensive, more rounded, all in one platform. I'll show you the new look in Connect in a minute. Also, if you choose to license Apteco through the Salesforce App Exchange, or you do one of our Salesforce trials, which are free of charge, if you have got data in Salesforce or you're a partner servicing people with data in Salesforce, we've extended the data that we build automatically. You can see it highlighted in red on the right-hand side. We previously handled accounts, contacts, and contracts, orders and order items, but we now also have the option to include leads and opportunities. You can see the 8 different data models available in the trial at the top, starting with just the very simplest one table of your accounts through to the most complex that has accounts, contacts, orders, order items, leads, opportunities, and opportunity line items. And we have had to work on the data model to get it nicely represented in Apteco, and we're still working on default dashboards that can consume all of that data or represent all of that data in a nice way for you. So if you're interested in working with your Salesforce system with Apteco, come and talk to us, look on the App Exchange. You can do a free of charge trial directly from there. Connect also supports S3 buckets. I can't remember if we had this back in Q1, but we now have the ability to import data from S3 buckets, which invented by Amazon, but actually produced by or supported by a lot of vendors now. So if you've got an S3 bucket somewhere, you can provide credentials, and that allows us to ingest data from lots of different source systems, making it easy to provide fresh data to your Apteco system, which can then be scheduled to refresh the data source, refresh the data build, and off you go with up-to-date data in Orbit. We will, of course, be extending this to include more direct API connections and database connections, first to cloud databases, but later to on-premise databases with an uploader process. And there's lots of exciting work going on with our CDP, which I'll touch on later on, to help you manage data that we're importing into the Apteco platform. We've also extended tiles so that you can now put rich text and images in there, and that allows you just to make the branding and the visual impact of your dashboard tiles stronger. So if you want bold and underlined text, if you want some image in a tile, you can now do that. And perhaps you've got sub brands that have their own logo. You could label the tiles appropriately to show that on the dashboard. I'll demo some of that in a moment. We also have stronger reporting, and in particular, we've introduced target and ROI, return on investment tiles into the dashboard. I'll demonstrate this to you again, because as you can see with that red text in the center showing that particular example is down on target, that's a really powerful metaphor, visual presentation for your management team to understand what's happening. And we will be building out the means by which you populate the targets and the ROI measures, the investment level, for example, in due course. But you'll see the first steps are now in the product. And remember, we always, using the agile methodology, we ship each feature as early as we can when it has high quality, meaningful functionality, but typically before it has the full breadth of functionality that we expect to introduce. We maintain the quality standard even when there's a first starter slice of that functionality. As soon as that starter part of functionality has reached our quality standard, passed all the tests for that limited functionality, we can get it out. And particularly for those of you in the Apteco Insider program, you can see those features early in preview, and we can then gain your feedback before we develop too far down the line on a particular feature. So we're always interested in how well these early items land with you in order that we can round them out and produce really powerful, really usable features for you. Onto campaign inside Orbit, we have the ability to take a section of a campaign diagram and turn it into a section. Actually, I've used the word already. So a part of a campaign diagram, a branch, if you like, of a campaign diagram, and turn it into a section. That section is then reusable and referenceable from elsewhere in the campaign flow. Our initial intention was to avoid crisscross lines in the diagram of the workflow. But actually, it's turned out to be an even more powerful mechanism than that, because it allows you to think about the design of your campaign cleanly and clearly, to implement that cleanly and clearly, to have one place where you define a certain part of the communication interactions you will have with your recipients, and to reuse that within other branches of the same campaign. And sections can refer to other sections, and sections can refer back to earlier in the campaign. And so you can redirect people to different parts of a campaign workflow, and even send them around in a loop, so they can go into a section that will repeat until they are pulled out to some other activity. In time, we expect to add more to sections so that you can schedule them, budget them, report on them, cost control them, for example, in that section of a campaign. But for now, I'll show you that as we create a campaign together today. And I mentioned it already. I'm actually not going to demonstrate this, but it's a very simple item you can see it on the screen show, where somebody else has got control of an item. You can now take over the campaign, so or the channel definition, for example. So if you have, as on the screenshot, multiple channels defined, and somebody else has started editing one of those channels and then quit their session, they've not finished the edit, it will be locked to them. You'll be notified who has got that lock. But if you've been granted permission to take over other people's editing work, then you can do so, and their work will be discarded. You will pick up from the last saved version, and they may have saved some of their work, obviously, and then off you go. And hopefully you remember to save it before you quit. But it's just a practical measure that we've had in previous versions of the software as well. Also, just as a reminder, I demoed this last time with the form editor, but we actually introduced this in the production system since our last webinar. So we now have beautiful forms built into the Apteco marketing platform. So as well as sending emails, you can have a call to action, for example, to capture some data, or perhaps to get a double opt-in consent, so that you can ensure that people have given clear, transparent permission for the purposes that you wish to communicate with them. And that mechanism includes both the confirmation page and the double opt-in email. So we can have a form to land on, show the page where you get confirmation that you've opted in, and then the email to confirm that as well. So the two-stage process is fully supported inside the Apteco platform. So let's go and have a look at a browser, and let me choose the right page. It's that one. So here we have a demo system. Is actually the one I used for the global launch, and really all I wanted to show you on here was the Connect system. So you remember that we can now define multiple data sources. You can see there are maybe 20 different data sources defined in this system, ranging from the main data sources through to the decode data sources. A subset of those have been defined as tables, so they are part of the primary data definition. And then in the system build, we have the design of that system. And if I just choose to edit that, then you can see the new compact design. And in fact, I've just realized this system doesn't have campaign on it, so I can't switch the switch for you, but there is a single switch in which I would show campaigns. But you can see the same blocks and line style as we have in the campaign editor, and lovely properties to interact with. So you can identify and say, this is the people table for my application, for example, and I can say that I want to look at the relationship that has been defined to link this table. Actually, the primary key and the foreign key are called the same thing in that case, but they might not be. And you can see the attributes of each table that you can pick from. And we're really putting effort into making the application as consistent as possible in this right-hand panel, so that it all operates in the same way. And you can see, for example, that I could add another table above the interactions table. So I was looking at interactions, or here above the email table, or as a sibling of that and other tables. So yeah, look out for this whole area just continuing to move forward as we add new connection capabilities, new data ingestion capabilities. And as I say, you can just turn on campaign to have those tables added in. Let's go to my main demo system, already logged in, using, in fact, that isn't it, using this one, there we go, already logged in, using data built a month or so ago. And let's start by going to our dashboards, and let me just take you to simple dashboard, and I'm just going to show you, to get you warmed up, some of the simple mechanisms for rich text. So if I take one of these tiles and I choose to edit it, you will see in the tile options that we have the ability to display rich text notes. And just to emphasize the point, I can say that that bit is bold and that bit is italic as well, for example. But we can also insert images, and I can say I want to insert an image at the point that my cursor is. So you can see actually I've left a couple of blank lines. That's just to emphasize the point that you can position your cursor where you wish to insert the image. And then we need a web address. Now let me just move the Teams bar and go get a web image. And of course, because we're demoing Orbit, we'll go and look at Orbit, and there's our lovely logo, and I can just right click and copy the image link. and then I can go in here and paste that in. You see the resource is coming from apteco.com, and I can call it Orbit logo. And because I practiced earlier, I might start by just saying I want this 25 by 25. So we get a nice little logo shown in here. And in fact, if I save that, you would see that I've still made it slightly too big, but I can expand the notes section so you can see it cleanly. My user can also change where that note is going to be displayed. So I can choose how to display the notes as I'm working on the item. Let's just do a bigger version just for fun. If I go to this one and I choose to edit this tile, you might think, well, that's all very well, James, but I don't just want logos off Apteco's website. I've got something else to do. And in fact, before we go and do it, let's upload an image. How do we do that? Well, in our campaigning area, we have the template builder, templates of various sorts, including the image gallery. If I hit the image gallery, it will give me a choice of images. They're all lovely. That's not what I want. I want to upload my own image. And here I have an image of, well, you'll see him in a minute, my Labrador. That is Django. So I've just uploaded an image of Django to the image gallery. He's clearly now going to be all over our demo campaigns, but maybe I want to use this image. Now, I will just warn you that in preparing for this, I discovered that this option that says copy image link says it's copied it, but in fact, it hasn't put it successfully on the clipboard, and I've reported that. But just as a workaround, if you click on that and then right click and copy image link, I can take that back to my dashboard. I can go back to edit this dashboard, edit this tile, and then I can say I would like to insert an image down here, and I'm going to paste that, and you'll see this time, instead of coming from apteco.com, it's coming from the image gallery, and I can put some alt text on there, and you have to judge how to size it, and because it was 1200 by 1600 originally, I've sized it at 120 by 160, and there you go, you've got a new image. So you're not just restricted to using images that you have already got on your website. You can upload any image you like to the image gallery, and that will do it. Right, let's go on to the targets tab. Now, on the targets tab, I've got a couple of tiles, one here showing average sales last year and one showing average sales in the last year. You have to be quite careful with the language, but let me just show you. This one is showing a filter of this year backwards by 1 year. So that's the start of this year, first of the first 24, back a year. So that's the whole of 2023, and I've put that in the title just to make it plain. The one adjacent to it is average sales in the last year. Let's just look at that one. If I edit the tile and look at the filter, booking date is today backwards by 1 year. So that is the 16th of July back a year. So actually it'll be the 16th of July this year up to the last year up to the 15th of July this year. Lovely. But we can do better than that, because I'm going to add a new tile. I'm going to make it a number tile. I'm going to make the measure exactly the same. In fact, I could have duplicated the existing tile, but I'm going to do an average of the cost, and we'll see the average for all time is £642. The other two are restricted periods. But here's the new functionality to set a target. So my target can be a fixed value, or it can be derived from a date range. So just to illustrate, I suppose, if I could set a target of £750, and let's just get my mouse in here. So demo target fixed, and we apply that, we can see that by default a value above the target is good, and therefore a value below the target is bad, hence the fact we're reporting that we're 14% down against our target fixed at £750. And that's like introducing a KPI or a business target that you might want to use. Let's not do that. Let's do something more powerful. Let's choose a date range. And in fact, I noticed that strange interaction a moment ago. When you swap from fixed to date range, it takes the target off. But notice that we've now got a source period and a comparison. So where I was showing on the left-hand two tiles, we had to put a filter on the tile. Now we have the choice of putting it in here. And so we can say that we're going to look at the booking date, for example, and we can use a date rule on the booking date to pick, for example, the last year. And now we have got a measure, exactly the same look, £631.13, as having a tile filter to choose that. We're doing the same calculation on the same variable. Not surprisingly, it's the same. But look what we can now do. We can choose to do that measured against the previous period, the same period the last year, which would actually give, in effect, a slightly odd result, but I'll explain why that's usable. Or we can measure against a custom period. This one's ideal here. We're looking at our target in the last year compared with the prior period, which would be 16th of July 22 to 15th of July 23, and then we're comparing that with 16th of July 23 to 15th of July 24. Lovely. So this is date based now, and when we apply it, let's see how we're doing. Boom, 3% up. I was lucky enough to hit that number just by the fact of today's date and our demo data. So that is showing that we are up. But let's do another one. Let's duplicate that tile and let's change it from working on the cost variable. Let's just do the profit variable just to make it different. So we'll do profit. Oh, that's not what I was expecting. So yeah, there you go, profit. Don't know why that triggered a save. But this time, what we're going to do is date range, but we're going to say we want to work on the booking date, and we're going to do a dynamic range of this year to date. There we go, this year to date, the very last one, very common reporting period, I think you would agree. And in fact, there is no data in this year to date. We've probably fallen off the end of the date period. But what we can look at is the previous period. So that would compare against last year. And again, we can set the value above the target is good. So if I apply that, yeah, actually, I think I've run out of dates on the date ranges, but hopefully you can get the idea that we can compare either with a whole year or a year to date, and we can see that data. I just haven't really gone that. That's slightly odd. I didn't expect that. So date range booking this year to date. Let's try doing it on travel date. Actually, travel date is ahead of booking date, and we're doing a dynamic range. And we'll pick the last one this year to date and go. I have to admit, I did the source period. There you go, that looks better. I did the cost one. I just assumed the profit variable would work as well. And now we're doing the same period last year. Value above target is good, and we'll apply that. Bingo, there we go. So we're currently getting an average profit of £101 based on the travel date, and versus the same period last year, we're getting £92, and so we're 9% up. And you saw earlier in the screenshot, you'll get red numbers if it's below target, if the target is that way round. If you were measuring a cost, clearly below the target is good because your costs are coming down. If you're measuring revenue or profit, above target is good. And so that's that. And let's just do one more, and we're going to do an ROI tile. And this one is simplistic at the moment. So we might say that we've invested £25,000 and we want to see the measure that we've got from, let's say, the sum of the bookings. And actually, in this case, I am going to add a filter and say I'm only interested in the booking date with a dynamic range of the last year. So pretty much the same as we did before. We'll apply that, and maybe we also want to say we're only interested in destinations we've got Spain in here? No. Euro winners. Let's say France. Well, in fact, I won't get into the controversy of football, but so French bookings in the last year, and this is our ROI tile, just ROI on a campaign, a very fictitious campaign, an entirely fictitious campaign because we've got 12,000% response, but you get the idea. So at the moment, with just a fixed measure of the investment spend, £25,000, we've generated £3 million of revenue. That looks rather good, but we can measure the ROI. So watch out. Again, we'll be adding to these types of mechanisms as we go. And the aim is to help you produce dashboards that report on your campaigns, and indeed to work towards standard reports built on our dashboard technology, which are exportable as PDFs, exportable and shareable in lovely ways that Orbit already has, and easy to communicate with your management team and to see what is working. Right, let's say that. Right, let's imagine that from here we're going to do some selections, and we'll pick last year's bookings, and we'll pick people who have travelled with our fictitious holiday company from somewhere in Wales, because that's kind of easily identify what it is if I click on it. Right, there you go. Let's overlap that. And we've got a target group. Let's just see how many we've got. Go and look at accounts tab. We can see 15,000 people. What am I going to do? I'm going to make those an audience. So I'll say that these are Q2 2024 webinar campaign audience. And we're selecting on the people table. Remember, dashboards are multi-table, so you can resolve the query to any table you wish. So I'll create that. I'll go to the audience. There's the rule, pretty simplistic. People from Wales booked in the last year. There's all sorts of things that you can do from here. But how about this for loveliness? We now have charting built in, and I've demoed many of these things, lookalikes and browsers and exports and all of your favorites that you can add up, for example. But we now have charting in here. My system's got preview tools turned on. So, for example, profiling isn't ready yet, isn't available yet, but we've started thinking about it. And charts are now in partner preview, so you can turn these on. So I'll call these the Q2 2024 lovely chart, because Pete would want me to call it something like that. Probably call it invincible charts. So we've got a new tab. I can set up a chart either by pressing the setup, we've put that on so you don't get a blank page, or by hitting the properties. Does exactly the same thing. Let's press the blue button and choose from chart types. Now, not all of these will be available in the first cut. The team are working really hard on adding to the chart capability, and we've developed a whole new charting test suite to ensure that these work as expected in all circumstances, all types of dimensions and measures on them. So you'll get the first of the single dimension charts in the next update. We're just in the preview and test period. Assuming that's okay, that will go into release. So let's start with the simplest, which is the column chart, and let's choose something like the income bands, and immediately you see what it's going to look like. We can omit unclassified. We can require or allow the display, for example, to be restricted. So we could say, just show me the top 5 income bands or whatever else we've got on there. Default title we can overwrite. We've got descriptions or codes on the legends, or you can put both on there. And for some purposes, codes are appropriate. A shorter presentation of that data, in this case, I think I would have descriptions. By default, we've given you a measure, which is the number of people, but it could be number of bookings, it could be the average booking value, it could be anything that you've seen us do over time. And you can see how easy it is to use expressions, tables, and variables. And let's just go get, for example, from the bookings, let's add up the profit, and we've reworked all of these dialogues just to make them the most consistent. And in the end, we will reverse this update back into the dialogues for defining tiles with charts and dashboards. As we created dashboards, it was a bit organic, we were adding to it, but now we have re-engineered all that just to make it beautiful. I'm just thinking at the time I need to be a bit careful. In fact, I would need to turn on labels in order to, or sorry, I could turn on labels in order to show these charts. Let's just see some other types. So I could show that as pie charts, like sorry, bar charts. I could show it as pie charts. I could show it as donut charts, etc. Let's apply that, and I would need to go and set some labeling on there. But you'll be pleased to know, not surprised, I suppose, that we have the ability to pick from any of the charts, and then I can create an audience from that, manually selected from a chart, and I'm going to put this onto the people table. There you go. Let's choose people and create that. And it's saying, do you want to stay and save my current one? Or in fact, I will discard those because I don't need them. And there's my new audience, which has got the income selections, 3 different income bands that I picked from the pie chart. But that's not all, because I can then say, if I'm going to save this, let's then say I'd now like to go and build a campaign, and I'll call this the Q2 2024 demo campaign. I'm going to have to whiz through this like nobody's business, but we've gone from a dashboard to an audience, from an audience to some charts, from a chart to another audience, and we've made a campaign. It's telling me I've got 2 jobs to do. I've got to set up the schedule and add a channel. So let's say that I'm going to add an email, and I would go and choose what email that is, and then I would maybe choose a time delay. Let's do that one because it's very quick and easy. Wait a day, and guess what the default is? Wait 1 day. Marvelous. And then we'll have an interaction split. Interaction split allows me to divide up the routes. So split on email reaction, and we have 1 default path out of the split, but I'm going to add another one. Clicker. I'm going to add another one. I'm going to say bounced. Yeah, bounce. We'll have another one, which is people who opened. And we'll create that, and we can, maybe prioritize bounced first, then people who clicked, and then people who didn't bounce, didn't click, but did open. And we have actions for all of these. So this one is bounced, this one is clicked, and you can choose what link. Do you remember we had the URL with Django in it? There you go. Click on that URL. We'll get a reaction that you clicked on the picture of Django, assuming that had been inserted in your email, or you just opened it but weren't ready to click on the image, etc. So we've now got some splits. Lovely. What are we going to do? Well, down here, people who clicked, we're obviously getting some engagement. Let's follow up with a WhatsApp message, and off you go. You can edit the WhatsApp, and in fact you might want to wait a week, let's say, before you start communicating through another channel, and so we'll say wait a week. I told you I was going to do this quick, and I've only filled in about half of it. But the point was, in a beautiful campaign, I might now think, oh, I want to do that for the people who opened it but didn't click. So what can we do? We can say that we would like to create a section. So for that element, I can say new section, and we're going to edit. The name of that section is edit it. Let's just say that we are going. Hang on, I've not done the right thing. That was not what I'm trying to talk about. What I'm trying to do is rename it. There you go. And rename it. I'm going to say send a WhatsApp, excuse the abbreviation, and that can do whatever I want to do. And the point is that I can now redirect the people who opened but didn't click, or let's say everyone else, just to make it more visually separate. I can now redirect them to a path redirect, and we've only got one section in the campaign at the moment, send a WhatsApp. Press OK. So these people over here and these people over here will both be sent into this section. And once you start using that mechanism, you'll end up with multiple sections referenced in different places, and you can copy them, you can duplicate them, you can paste the steps back in. So if I copied those steps, you can now see I've got buttons to paste them into various different places. Actually, if you've copied them from a section, why not just refer to the section? But just to illustrate, I can paste them in here for the people who bounced. And so we've taken that section out, put the steps into another branch. You could maybe make another section of that, edit it to be something else, or you could have duplicated it, etc. And down here, I've got lots that I still need to do to set it up, but hopefully you've got the flavor. And isn't it looking beautiful? The whole design of this, the flow of it, the beautiful compact nature of sections, I think are all really strong across multiple channels with all those controls, and driving it with lookalike audiences rather than just the simple manual selections I've made. You can do a whole load of stuff. Right, I think that's enough of Orbit. Please do give us your feedback. I know we haven't got polls in the webinar this time, but we're interested in what you think, how you're getting on. In fact, give Mel a load of reactions from Teams to look at, because I can't see them sharing my screen, but she'll get a view as to whether you're liking that or not. Remember, you can try the Apteco software from either the Salesforce system that I mentioned earlier, or you can do a demonstration trial. And in fact, we've extended the demo option, so you can now do a get started trial where you load your own data in through Connect free of charge to have an experiment with the Apteco platform. So really easy to do. We now let you start up an instance for 30 days free of charge, load any data you like and start experimenting with it. So you can test on your data from Salesforce, your data uploaded through Connect or through our demo data. Right, quick intro to FastStats. We have extended pattern match in the on-the-fly aggregation. So pattern matches you used to define manually. Now we can give you some standard ones. I'm going to demonstrate how you can find the longest pattern of the same type of transaction, for example. We've also improved the create from expression wizard for those of you who write expressions, and I know they are a bit like olives. You love them or you hate them, but if you love them and you want to output categorical data, we've got much stronger mechanisms now. You can either give us codes and descriptions manually, or you can create a new variable from an existing variables decode list. So I'll show you that. Better insight from maps. I'm going to demonstrate how we've all been fooling ourselves with maps over the years and how we can now give you better insight on that. We allow you to now do grouping if you're doing a personal best aggregation. So a particular type of aggregation can now be grouped to find the best value within that. And if I have time, I'm not sure I will, I'm going to try and show you a calculation in a behavioral model feature, and just show how we've now added real power, more power into an already powerful mechanism. Let's go have a look at fast. That's and hang on, where is it? There, that one. Referring to my notes, first thing I'm going to show you is pattern matching aggregations. So let's start an expression. And you remember, on the fly aggregations are a particular type of expression. So I've chosen on the fly, I hit the tab, and it shows us the default, which is to count the frequency of one of the transaction tables. It happens to have picked the booking table, but I don't want to do that. I want to do a pattern match, which is this one. It's defaulted, as it happens, to the appropriate grouping table, which is the people, and looking at patterns in their bookings. I'm not going to do any grouping, but I do need to order by the booking date, which is the order by, default to earliest to latest. I'm going to do pattern match around the transaction, which is in effect the product code in our demo system. By default, the pattern match is manual, and I can press a button to go and edit a pattern, and there's lovely help articles that will describe how to do that. But we've made it easier, because we could now say we want to find people who've got the longest sequence of the same destination, for example, and you can include or exclude particular items from there. And we can say that we would like to select the first and return, for example, the transaction value. Let's have the start transaction value. So that would return the first value in the longest sequence of destination. So it would tell us which destination that is, and it returns that as a variable of the grouping table, and the whole thing can be filtered. Let's just run it, and I appreciate I've galloped through that. Fortunately, we're recording this, so we can play it at half speed later if you want. So we can see some people with some values. It's a bit hard to understand. So let's take this, which is the longest same expression, and let's put it on there. And in fact, you know what, before I do that, I'm going to go change it so that instead of giving us the transaction value, it will give us the pattern length. And I'll just refresh that so you can see there's the length. We've got some people with 2 the same, some people with just 1 the same. The reason I've done that is if we put that onto our selection window, I can say I want people who have more than 5 transactions all the same. I can go and get a data grid, put that on here, and we'll have the destination. We need the booking date, and let's in fact put the pattern length on there as well. So if I go put that onto the group, so here's a group, and if these are all people who've got more than 5 destinations that are the same. Let's just group them by person URN. We can see lots of people. There's someone, the very first person got 8, and they're all to the United States. And in fact, let's just sort these by the booking date. So we've got them in sequence. There they are, all 8. I only highlighted someone. Let's pick someone else. There's one with 6 in a row to Germany. And let's find one more that's got some different items in it. I'll try someone with 7. Yeah, there you go. So that person, that's a nice example. They have 1 booking to Australia, but then they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bookings to Australia, and that's the number that we get back. 6 bookings the same. Now, you could have done that before, but you'd have had to lay out the pattern to do it yourself. So much easier. And remember, in here, if I just go back, as well as doing longest the same, we can do longest where they're different. So that's never the same as the previous transaction, for example, the longest with any type, or the longest with particular booking. So I won't go into any more detail, we're out of time. Let's just change this to give us the value again as I demoed at the beginning. So we are not returning the pattern length, we're now returning the start transaction value. You remember that was America, France, or Germany. And what we can do is we can take this and put it onto the wizard. So I'm just dragging and dropping it onto the calculate expression wizard. I'm using my expression called the longest same, and it's returning the destination. And we could possibly sub-select it. We don't need to. What do we want to make? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we now want to make a selector. And when I choose selector, I get this lovely step in the wizard that allows me to either derive it from the expression, which is what we used to do, or enter the codes manually. But far more usefully, in this particular case, I want to use an existing variable, and I can base that variable on the destination. So all of the codes, all of the descriptions in exactly the same order as we had before are now going to come through into my new variable. And actually, I'm not going to finish it because we're out of time, but you can see how easy that would be just as normal to create that variable. Right, let's just have a look at the mapping, and I think I've got all of the things done. Yes, that is right. So we are now going to go make a new selection, and I'm going to choose a selection of people who have got bookings in the last year. So booking date, and we're going to choose the last year. And you can see we can do the same things in FastStats as we do in Orbit. And I'm going to call this analysis. And I'm going to make another selection also of people, which is unlimited, which is base. And then I am going to create myself a map. And in that map, we are going to look at postcode areas just because it's biggest and easiest to see if I manage to drop it in the right place. And let's have a look at our map. Here is the classic FastStats map of the country. It's got some default shading. Looks like the Northeast and Northern Ireland are the most interesting places. It's got the darkest shading, except I'm going to show you why that is not actually insightful. Well, it's insightful to some extent. That postcode has the biggest population. But let's take those two groups that I just created, and I'm going to go to my windows and drag the analysis into the analysis, and I'm going to drag base into the base. And in fact, it's defaulted to all the people. I didn't need the base selection. And we are going to say that what we would like to look at is the index between analysis and base. And when I press OK and then build that, I will get a different type of map. Well, that's looking interesting, isn't it? But we can give you even more insight because you can see we've got a range of numbers of index, so that's the ratio between analysis and base, from 1 to about 300. And we're shading all of those as positive numbers. What we actually now can do is choose to shade this not by quantiles, but by the new index shading. By default, I'll leave it on 8, and you'll see that we actually get 16 ranges. Those 16 ranges are below 100, 8 ranges below 100, 8 ranges above 100. Actually, let me make that easier for you to look at by choosing something other than white as the low color. Let's have blue. That will do. Pick that one. And now if I OK that. So what we can now see is we have an equal number of ranges representing the numeric index range from 100 down to 0, as we have ranges representing 100 up to the highest value that we've got. And in fact, we've generated ranges all the way up to 10,000 in order to have equal size ranges all the way through. But look what it shows us. Northern Ireland is not the most interesting populous sector. Well, it is the most populous, but it's actually underrepresented. It's only got 88% of people who've booked in the last year, compared with what we would have expected for the base population. And if you zoom in a bit more, you can see we've got a problem. This holiday company, our fictitious holiday company, is underperforming in the Northeast. I mean, it's doing catastrophically up here in Inverness. Presumably no flights from Inverness Airport, and none from Newcastle. They may be doing quite well down in the southeast. So index mapping rather than the absolute value mapping is much more useful. Right, let's have a go and just do this very quickly in behavioral modeling. And so I'm going to change this to be the next year. Let's choose that from the right place. The next year, I'm going to open a behavioral modeling environment. I'm going to tell it open modeling, tell it to use behavioral modeling, tell it to use a training date from a year ago, and then I'm going to drop on my analysis rule, and it will automatically create me a base rule that both ticked to use. I'm going to put in 2 dimensions. So behavioral modeling, I'm going to create the very simplest, and you haven't seen this for a while in these webinars, but this is letting us look at measures across this data. So grouping bookings around people using the booking date past the point in time. The point in time will be the training date at the moment, but that can move depending on the evaluation, the training, and then the deployment. So we'll say, okay, that's adding 1 new feature. Let's do another one. So we'll, again, just for speed, I'm going to do a count of the number of insurance policies using the policy date related to the point in time. Again, that also we've added 1 dimension. And the new bit is this, that we can now do your own calculation. So I can create a calculation, which is, for example, the number of bookings divided by the number of policies, in each case looking at the number that existed on the training date and which can be moved as we go across. And let's press OK. And because we can, we'll build that. And we've got a new superstructure around behavioral modeling to help you control what you're asking it to do, because there's a lot of processing if you're doing a big behavioral modeling process. It said we're only going to do 3 dimensions in 1 batch, and we do now batch them. And hopefully this will be quick enough in the 4 minutes remaining. There you go, bingo. We can start seeing we've got some data back, and let's have a look at the ratio. In fact, I've ended up with everything equal to 1, which is not what I was expecting. But maybe I picked this 1 thing divided by itself. But hopefully you've got the idea, either that or I must have not calculated it right. Sorry, flying along, I'm hoping to just give you a flavour for what you can do. And that the point is here that we can work on these items to choose how to do that calculation. Yes, I must have somehow not got that quite right. Right, let's go back to the slides. We're nearly out of time. PeopleStage now has a better browser embedded in it, so you get a better preview of your ads if you're doing meta ads in PeopleStage. Designer, just a few changes. We are using Designer as the power behind Connect. So if you're using our Web Connect tool, it's actually Designer under the hood. What's coming soon? These links are normally in your handout. Just a reminder, you can go to the ideas portal or ideas.apteco.com or email wishes@apteco. You can view the roadmap, which is in the portal, and we show the next 6 months approximately. You've got the what's new page and the milestone page. That's a view of the roadmap, and we have 2 levels, the epics, which are overall, and then you can zoom into the detail, and each of those has editorial detail as well. And a couple of items for the news. Please save the date. If you haven't already picked it up from our promotional content, the Apteco Live conference this year is on Friday, the 15th of November from 10:30 till 4:45. And it's not in London, it's in Leicester, because that is where the UK's National Space Centre is. And with man going back to the moon and the discovery of caves on the moon and all of the news around Artemis and the space travel, we're delighted to be at the Space Centre. If you're joining us online, the live stream on the 15th of November will be in the afternoon, 1:15 till 3:45. And then for everybody online on Monday, the 18th of November, we'll be hosting you from the studio in Birmingham and showing you more details and case studies of the best use of Apteco. That competition is already up and running. If you'd like to enter, just have a look on the website. And for those of you that are partners, we are delighted to say that the Apteco Partner Exclusive event will be the night before Apteco Live in the same space, the same place in Leicester, the National Space Centre. So if you're a partner, please come along. We'll have a lovely dinner and a talk about what we're going to show in the conference the very next day. We will also be at TFM on the 18th and 19th of September. That's the UK's premier technology for marketing show these days. Come and have a look. And about 12,000 people. And with seconds remaining, let me just encourage you to talk to me, talk to the Apteco team. We love your feedback. We are energized by your reaction to what we're doing. You can reach me by email or James Alty. And in fact, what I ought to have done is put my LinkedIn profile on there, because I don't use socials very much, but I'm trying to do more on LinkedIn. So see you there. Okay, thank you very much. I hope that's been a helpful hour. That is the end of the Q2 24 Apteco software release webinar. Thank you very much.